All right, guys, let's dive right into it. Welcome to Webinar Wednesday by Brilliant Directories, where we have tips to grow your online community. It's great to be with you guys here today. I see a lot of familiar faces and names. Vincent, great to see you here in the webinar. We have a great presentation for you today, and we hope that you guys have some good questions for us for towards the end of the webinar. If this is your first Webinar Wednesday, welcome. It's a great place to be. It's one of my favorite times of the week. I'm Jason there on the left, and we're lucky to be joined by Rick and Patrick today. Rick is one of the support specialists here at Brilliant Directories, and Patrick is a digital marketing expert that knows Brilliant Directories and online marketing inside and out. So it's great to be with you guys here today on the webinar.
Thanks a lot, Jason, and looking forward to helping some people get off the hamster wheel today.
Thanks, Jason. Happy to be here.
Awesome. And I always encourage you, if you haven't joined our free Facebook group, you can go to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook and join the group. It's a great place to carry the conversation after Webinar Wednesdays. There's great discussions and really awesome participation there. I'm in there, other BD staff members are in there, and there are some real great conversation starters in that Facebook group. So if you want to just take 30 seconds right now and join, you can go to brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook, and we'll see you guys in there. And for those first timers joining Webinar Wednesday, welcome. There is a wealth of knowledge and information shared in each and every one of these webinars. We try to have a strong focus on sharpening our marketing skills to help our directory websites grow faster and more efficiently. Some topics that we cover and some questions that we can take are related to how to convert visitors into members or paying members, how to increase your overall website traffic, how to drive more traffic using different strategies and tools. What's always fun for me is identifying revenue opportunities, because this is different for every single industry and different audiences that you're serving. So through conversations in Webinar Wednesday, we can identify potential revenue opportunities that weren't apparent at a first glance of your site. And one of my favorite out of this list is improving your website's navigation. I think a clean, simple, and direct navigation is 90% of what makes a site successful. When you overdevelop a site or have too many things that you want people to do, it could really guide them to places that aren't really beneficial to your website's growth. So have your questions ready. If you're stuck on any one of these topics, these are things we'd love to cover in the webinar today with you. And since we have a lot to cover this webinar, we're going to dive right into it. And we have a new segment here called Rick's Corner. Rick's Corner is a place where he will answer simple solutions for common questions. And today's topic is how to align multiple membership levels on your pricing page. And Rick, before we get into this, why did we choose this topic, and what is a pricing page exactly? And I can pass the presentation over to you if you need to.
Great. Yes. Thank you. Please do, Jason.
All right.
So basically, the pricing page is the join page. The join page that comes on all of the Brilliant Directories websites. Happy to show you here real quick.
I'm passing that over to you, Rick. You should have it in just a second.
Thank you very much. I do. Okay, perfect. All right. So this is the pricing page. This is the pricing page, Jason. This is the regular join page. It's a static page that comes by default with Brilliant Directories. Some of our partners decide to go with 3 plans instead of 4. Some people might decide to use 2 plans instead of 4. It's a very common question that we get regularly. So I'll be happy to show you how easy it is just to center and align those pricing plans to match your membership levels.
So you're saying when people have different levels, sometimes it's not centered or it looks a little bit off. You can control the width and the size of these boxes so they look nice on this page.
Exactly correct. And it's super easy to do. Basically, to get started, we're going to jump to the back end of Brilliant Directories, and we're going to get started from the dashboard. What we're going to navigate, or where we're going to navigate, is to the toolbox, and we're going to open up the menu manager. Now, by opening up the menu manager, we're going to have the pricing page menu, which is the one that we want to edit in order to modify the join page. So let me go ahead and click edit. All right. What we have here are the 4 different plans. So as you can see here, those plans correspond to the plans that we have here on the join page.
Right. So I just want to stop there. So I see there's 4 plans. So what is making these 4 plans aligned like this right now?
Okay, that's a great question. That's controlled by this class that you see right here. So this class controls the amount of elements that are displayed aligned in the join page. So was that clear? Like it's this one right here.
So I know that the Brilliant Directory sites are built on Bootstrap, and Bootstrap works, and I don't want to get too complicated here, it works in a column system. So there's 12 columns on a row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So when you see the col MD3 there, if you open that up, so is that saying that that box should be 3 columns wide?
It's using 3 elements out of the 12 grid system.
Gotcha. So 3 times 4 equals 12, so we're getting a full width out of those. So each one of these is 3 columns wide, and there's 12 columns available. Gotcha. Okay.
Correct. That's why you see 4. So if we get rid of 1, which I'm going to do right now simply by deleting this last element, plan number 4, I'm going to get rid of that one. Delete all sublevels. Okay. So if I get rid of that last one and I refresh this page, the elements are not going to align properly.
Nice. Right. So now you have 3 here, but they're not filling up the whole page, nor are they centered.
Exactly correct. And that's the question that we get pretty often.
Okay.
So the way that to edit that, you actually have a few options at this point, but what we're going to do is increase the width of each element so that they're aligned properly in the join page. So to do that, again, we're going to open up the pricing page menu, and we're going to edit the element that we were talking about before. So instead of 3, we're going to switch that to a 4. Bear in mind that you need to do this only on this, like the parent element, so make sure that everything else is closed. We're going to open this one up as well and switch that 3 to a 4, and switch this last one again to a 4. Now we're going to save this.
So now we have 3 elements, and they're each going to be 4 columns wide. So 3 times 4 is 12.
12.
And it should center them and take up the whole space here. Very nice.
Correct. So that would be the easiest way to get this done. Plus, it looks really nice. It allows you to add enough information and descriptive information here on the element to get your point across. So that one is really useful. Now the same thing happens if we jump back and we get rid of the plan number 3, Jason. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete this one.
Okay. It's making me nervous. I don't know what's going to happen next.
So no, don't get nervous. It's super easy.
Okay.
So now we're gonna we have 2 elements here, right? So we're gonna save those changes. When we jump back to the join page, which I'm gonna do right now, and refresh. Now, like the same thing happens as before. So we're gonna have 2 now. They're not aligned. We have a big space there. So it doesn't look professional at all.
So if I wanted to, I could make them col MD6 and col MD6, and they would each be 6 and 6 to take up the full 12. But that seems really wide for pricing plans.
Yep, that is correct, and that's a valid way to go about it. Another way to go about it would be to add in the offset class that Bootstrap also offers. So basically what we would do at this point is going to be edit this element. We're going to leave it with 4, using 4 out of the 12. We're going to use the following CSS class called -md offset, and we're going to go with 1. All right, so basically what we're going to be doing here is pushing both elements 1 element to the right. So I'm going to save this Okay, and let's go ahead and refresh the join page, see how this comes up.
Okay.
All right, so it did push both elements to the right. Did you notice?
Yeah, so col MD offset 1, basically you're saying is move it one, make it one column space for that. So it's kind of adding an invisible column for us to push these towards the center, but it doesn't look like 1 is enough for this example.
That is correct. So what we're gonna do is switch that 1. Let's add 2. See if that shows up better. So
I feel like we're gambling a little bit with this, rolling the dice. All right.
All right, let's refresh.
Okay.
It does look better now, right?
That looks dead center. Okay.
Yep, that looks better. Yeah, give me 1 second here. All right. So yeah, that looks a lot better now. There's no extra space. They're centered and 2 fit properly with 4, using 4 out of the 12 elements in the grid view. Jason.
Gotcha. Okay. What would 1 look like?
All right, so we can go with 1. We would need to push or increase the offset as well. So if we switch, let's say, let's get rid of this one. So we're just gonna delete this one. All right, and save. Okay, so basically what's gonna happen is that this guy's gonna be there alone by itself. We would need to basically just increase the amount of offset on the left so that it's also centered. Because if I go ahead and refresh this page right now, see it's all by itself, it doesn't look nice at all. So we could do what you mentioned before. We could increase the size from a 4 to a 6, or we can increase the size of the offset to a 3. So let's go ahead and add a 3 here. Leave it as a 4. Save it. Okay, and let's go ahead and refresh this. Wait, let me save.
There it goes.
All right. And let's edit this. Okay, so call MD4, call MD offset 3. See if that works. Yeah, there you go. There you go. So I think that it needs another one, right?
Yeah, so it looks like it just needs a little trial and error there. I guess you can increase its width or the offset width until you get it just about right. But there's really nothing that can break besides changing the numbers between a number from 1 through 12.
Exactly correct. Yeah, exactly correct. Just those would be the 2 elements that you would basically need to modify in order to get those pricing elements to align properly. Jason, one final thing, just we have documentation about this. And it does include like what elements you need to add, and in what location, so that everyone can go ahead and use that for reference.
Awesome. Yeah, you want to let's share that in the chat with everyone here on the GoToWebinar chat here.
Okay. Perfect. This guy right here.
Okay, and the name of the article is Toolbox Menu Manager Pricing Page Outer CSS Class Alignment. Gotcha. And you start with the example for 4. So if you have more, like 5 or 6 or 8, I guess you can just have them go on the second line underneath your top row.
That is correct. Or you can create another static page and simply add it. But yeah, that would be a little bit more work.
Perfect. Okay, great. Let's take some questions. I'm going to lower everyone's hands. If anyone needs help with their pricing page alignment right now or has questions about the pricing page alignment, let's take some questions from the attendees here. Let me take the controls back, Rick, here. Thank you for that presentation, super helpful. All right,
Thank you, Jason.
Yeah, it's pretty simple and self-explanatory, but it is a common question. You just need to know what to do with those numbers. I don't assume, unless you were familiar with Bootstrap or you didn't find the documentation, it would be obvious. So that's why we kind of wanted to present on that here today. All right, thank you, Rick. And something super exciting that's going to be high value for everyone here, no matter what stage your website is in, is today's tip of the week. And today's tip of the week is something that we've been thinking about for a few weeks, and we think right now is a great time to present on this. We've had some great tip of the week segments in the previous webinars, and this one is going to help you get off the hamster wheel and continuously grow your website. And I want to bring Pat in on this mainly because he had a lot of good tips that contributed to this tip of the week. So Pat, can you tell us a little bit about what a hamster wheel is and how it could stunt a website's growth or hinder a website's growth?
Absolutely. So a hamster wheel, of course, as we all know, it just spins round and round. And regardless of how fast you run and how hard you try, you don't make any progress. You burn a lot of calories along the way, but in terms of progress and getting further down the journey of growing a business, growing a website, you've made almost no progress at all. So the idea here is to identify, we're going to help you identify if you're even stuck in the hamster wheel. A lot of times when I'm doing consultation calls or I'm speaking with people about their businesses, they don't realize that they've actually been stuck at what they're doing for the past 6 months, the past year, and they haven't done anything to get off the hamster wheel, and they're just trying to run faster. And running faster is not a good technique for getting off of it.
Yeah, and it could be detrimental to not yourself, to your organization. You'll start getting frustrated at, maybe colleagues or the platform you're using, when really the goal here is to get off the hamster wheel and continuously do different things that help propel the business forward rather than focusing on one task and one task alone.
That's correct. You'll lose motivation eventually if you don't take action and do something to switch things up a little bit. And that's what I'm excited about the presentation as well, is hopefully we'll help some people on this webinar identify whether they're on a hamster wheel and they're stuck, and more importantly, what they can do to get off of it.
Absolutely. And guys, don't worry, there will be a replay of this webinar on our website soon. But if you want to take some notes, these are the 5 proven pillars to continuously grow your website over time from day one, even if you've been in business and online for 5 years. And the key here is, with these 5 steps, is to continuously cycle through these steps and again, not get stuck on the hamster wheel in one of these areas. Pat, can you just share with us 1 through 5 real quickly, and which one you feel is the most important for a business?
Sure thing. And like Jason just said, the key is not to spend a long time in any one of these areas. It's good to define a maximum amount of time that you'll spend in each one. For example, perhaps 1 week per section before you go and repeat the cycle. This is a cycle, meaning that once you've completed the entire cycle, you want to restart it up again, and just identifying a different need and building a system around it. So what you'll want to do is you'll want to identify what is it that your website is helping resolve for your end users, for the members, for the public. Then you're going to want to build some content around that. We'll give you some ideas on the type of supporting content you'd want to build on that. It's much easier to have these 2 items figured out before you jump into the 3rd step, which is designing an easy-to-use website. Unfortunately, most of the time I work with people, they start at step 3 and they don't spend enough time at step 1 and step 2, and then they're kind of they get stuck, obviously, because they're missing the marketing assets that you'd be required to get to step 4 and step 5. So they just are in limbo in step 3 forever and ever, tweaking and designing and customizing their websites. And then, of course, following up your members and subscribers. We touched on that in the past in a couple of other webinars, but we give you a little bit more information on that. And then most importantly, restarting that cycle. And then for me, the most important one is without a doubt the first step, finding a need and filling it.
Yeah, I have to agree. And again, I want to also reiterate, a lot of people start with step 3. When I was in university and in college and I had to write an essay on a topic, I'd outline what I was going to write about, and then when it came time to actually put the sentences and paragraphs together, the essay essentially wrote itself. So steps 1 and 2 is really outlining what your unique selling proposition is, what your website's about, and step 3 will basically write itself, designing your website, because you're just going to fill in the blanks with all the copy that you've and content that you've created beforehand. All right, let's move into what it means to find a need and fill it. So why is this the most important step, Pat? Why are we putting an emphasis on this one?
Because if there's no purpose to your website, if you can't identify why someone should join, it's going to be very difficult for you to sell somebody on why they should join, regardless of it being a membership that I pay for or just being a general user that would interact with your content and members. If you can't do a good job of identifying something your website does for your end users, they're definitely not going to connect those dots for you.
Okay. Yeah, and I notice a lot of people enter in niches that they used to work in or they currently work in. So it's good that you know some of the pain points as a professional who might be working in your industry. And what's most helpful is if you can find out what frustrates you and aim to solve that problem. Maybe there's another solutions provider out there, but they're missing they're missing something in their workflow, and they're not really providing a good service to the industry professionals. And that's maybe something that frustrates you and the problem that you want to solve. And that's where you can find out what you can do to make that process better and provide a better value to the professionals who would be joining your website.
That's correct. And I've even worked with people before. They've taken an interesting approach about it. Oftentimes people are thinking, what frustrates me? I'm a vendor. What frustrates me? I'm going to make a website to help make my job easier, right? Because those will be my members. And I've had other people take the opposite approach and say, what frustrates my customers about choosing vendors? Because I'm a vendor. I know the pains that they go through, and they'll build an entire website based around the end user, their customers, because they know how difficult it is for their customers to choose the right vendor. And they're saying, hey, I'm an industry expert. I know the information you need to know. I'm going to build a website, and I'm going to make it super easy and super useful for people to come to my site to choose the vendor in X industry, in X niche. So you can also help tackle what frustrates your customers and build around that first, because again, if your end users, if the customers come to your site, your members will be happy to join.
And tell us a little bit about what number 4 is and how what it has to do with repeating this cycle over and over again, going through steps 1 through 5 of the 5 pillars.
You got it. And maybe what we can do just to really simplify it, let's go really basic. Can you go to the demo Bootstrap all-in-one template that you have to kind of break it down? And this is something that everybody, because again, we could overcomplicate the explanation. So I'm going to simplify it for everybody. Let's say this is the end product. I would like to eventually have a directory that will have events and coupons and jobs and galleries and classifieds and properties and articles and members only content, so on and so forth. It looks great. Every time you launch any one of these types of features, you're basically choosing one of these cycles that we're talking about. Meaning, if you're going to allow the feature events to be published on your directory, it means that you need to be solving a problem. And maybe the problem that you're solving is allowing businesses that don't have big marketing dollars to advertise in your local directory. Perhaps I have a directory in my hometown, Thunder Bay, Ontario, and I realize that, you know what, there's the independent theater scene, there's really nowhere for them to advertise, there's no sites that cater to them, there's just the big newspaper. So I'm going to start off, and that's the first need that I'm going to fill. I'm going to start small, and I'm going to have marketing materials filled around that. I'm going to only launch the events, and I'm going to start building landing pages only for events, primarily people that have a smaller budget, and introducing it as an exciting new way to promote your local event. And I'm going to try to gain traction, and that's going to be it. I'm going to deactivate properties. I'm going to deactivate classifieds. I'm not going to launch the blog articles for members. I'm going to basically remove all the other features, and I'm going to launch with one. And I'm going to make the content on my website, which we're kind of jumping into step 2, but I'm going to make the content on my website all about that need that I'm filling. Since it is small and it has one single purpose, my content's going to be on point, and it's going to be easier for me to complete that second step of the cycle, which is to have enough marketing assets to hopefully get people to sign up and interact with my website. And when we're done this cycle that we're going over, Then at that point, you'll look at that second need, and that second need could be a Brilliant Directories feature, like classifieds. It could be or it could be an additional feature on top of events. Perhaps you'll release recurring events. Perhaps you're going to say, hey, now we're also doing movies. That'll be up for you to define what that second step is, but the idea is to slowly build upon each need that you help resolve.
I think in the previous webinar, we talked a lot about simplifying your website's purpose and mission so that you can be really strong in one category and then add more over time. So that's where this comes in. When you recycle through the steps and you come back to step one, you can consider other things that you want to release on your site and other problems that you want to solve. And that brings us to step two. Once you've figured out the first thing that you want to hone in on, you want to write copy that sells. So copy is the content that people are going to read on your site. So tell us a little bit about the different types of copy and why they're important to kind of explaining the why and how of your website.
Sure thing. And again, if I define something simple, and you know, I'm gonna run with this. I didn't plan for it, but I'll run with the idea of I have a local directory, and I want to make it easy for smaller organizations to promote their events, some that don't have a lot of good content. So now when I come down to this second step and I write about my mission and my vision and my about website, I have an idea of who my end user is, why people would want to support my directory, support the arts, help talent be found, and help people that don't have a big budget market their services, and hopefully they can grow their performances, get more people to attend, and so on and so forth. By having a clear first step, I can start writing about that. If I am a directory that hasn't even landed a member, and I'm saying I'm going to be the one size fits all directory for Thunder Bay, where you're going to anything you're looking for, you're going to be able to find it. What I'm doing is I'm delivering a promise I'm never going to be able to deliver. I'm basically pitching the end product, which is going to take me years to develop, and making that what my about and my mission statement is. And there's going to be a disconnect from my end users, and I'll be in that hamster wheel because I'm never going to be able to get the site point where it can catch up to the content I'm creating. Does that make any sense, Jason?
Yeah, it does. And again, it just goes back to simplifying what you're offering to people. And the simpler the offering, the easier your job is, and the easier it is for potential members and subscribers to understand what you're trying to do and what your mission is all about. And so
at this point, Jason, what I would do next then is I would go and find somebody that has a local theater, maybe a university that they're trying to get their students to get more exposure. And I'll tell them, hey, I know you need help with marketing. Can I create a profile for you? I'm going to help you market your events. I'm going to help get students to come on board. And what I'd like in return is I'd like a testimonial from your organization. And if you don't mind, I'd love to make a case study out of it and start leveraging that. And there's a good chance that university would say, yeah, that sounds great. That's a fair exchange. Now I have a partner. I have brand exposure. And I have somebody that's becoming a champion of my brand. They'll never forget that I came in and I tried to help them solve a problem. They're probably going to become a champion of my brand. When I want to write a compelling blog article, well, those articles are going to relate around the needs for supporting our local talent, supporting local arts, helping students get more exposure, and the importance of really arts and the community. So I could make all the content around that. Again, this is becoming easy. I'm coming up with ideas quickly because we defined what our need is going to be in step one. And then when we're doing lead magnets and we're doing free resources, these can be either download this guide to the summer guide of the theater plays in Thunder Bay, or it can maybe be a lead magnet for my members that would like to add their events to my site, which could be 5 ways to market your play without spending $1. And I can have different types of lead magnets. Again, because we have a simple vision, we have a simple need that we're filling, it's much, much easier for me to come up with good specific ideas for content that we can then leverage in the third step when we're actually working on our website.
Exactly, and I want to give everyone a free gift here. We did a webinar in the past on a specific topic. Let me share that link with everyone in the chat. So we have our workshop videos on our BD site under the community tab. But we also have premium workshops that are on specific topics. And let me find here it is, creating awesome content to boost website traffic. Let me just grab this link here and share it with everyone. This comes with the webinar slides, and it's 8 different chapters, and it talks about exactly what we're talking about here. Here's one on creating your about/mission page. So I think everyone on the webinar, if you're interested in figuring out how to come up with compelling content that sells, you should watch this webinar. And let me just type this link into the chat here. Okay, you guys should all have that now there. Okay, great. So after you've come up with how you're going to pitch the product to people, basically pitch your website to potential subscribers and members, now you can create your website. So this is actually the step that most people get stuck on, and it's usually the step that most people start with first. So they really are getting stuck on the hamster wheel on this step. And on this slide, we've included more don'ts than do's, but can you share with us some of the pitfalls, maybe not even a little bit more beyond this slide, Pat, that people fall into with designing and configuring and setting up their website?
Sure, and I think probably because I have so much experience helping people with customizations in the Brilliant Directories marketplace, what I find oftentimes is massive dollars invested in ideas that were decided upon by 1 or 2 individuals working on the project, thinking this would be a good idea to develop without having any feedback from members, without ever even signing up a single member. And it can be really heartbreaking to see somebody invest so much time and so many resources, build a website, and never really investing in seeing if there's a good proof of concept, if people are interested, if the demographic they're going after are even comfortable signing up for directories, if it's a good idea for them to go, if there's too much competition, if there's something similar that's already out there. And basically that's my personal experience, is the sooner you could do step 1 and 2 and then create easy landing pages and start driving traffic to those landing pages and getting good at getting people to sign up, then when you invest in those customizations, you know you're going to get a return on those. The skill set that's the most important to get good at when you're launching an online directory is driving traffic to your website and getting conversions. A conversion is getting somebody to sign up for a newsletter, getting somebody to submit a lead form, getting somebody to sign up for a free trial, to sign up for basically anything that exchanges an email for something in return. That's what's called a conversion. And if people get stuck in the hamster wheel because they're not perfecting that skill set, and then you lose the motivation, because if all you're doing is investing money on development and customizations, then it's not leading to generating revenue. It's not leading to your database growing. Eventually what happens is you lose that motivation and you just stop working on your project, when, in my opinion, you've never even given your project a chance. If you haven't run at least one AdWords campaign to a landing page and you've pulled the plug on your project, it's, to my opinion, you haven't even literally given yourself one opportunity to succeed.
You know, and that's a really interesting point, because again, I think most people get stuck in this step. I'm curious to know how many of you, by a show of hands, feel that you might be stuck in this step. And what we've done in previous webinars is we've kind of taken a look at your site, and again, the number one thing we can do is remove things from your website to make the focus of your site a lot clearer. And you're eliminating a lot of work that you're creating for yourself, because if you have lots of sections to your site like jobs and coupons, you're creating more work for yourself having to fill in those pages. So potentially on the first iteration of your site, or whatever stage your website is in, you could look at things to remove so that you can be stronger in other areas of your site. So let's just see if anyone has their hands raised. I see BJ here. BJ, how you doing today?
Oh, hi, how are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Is this your first webinar with us?
First webinar, absolutely.
Awesome. Well, thank you for joining us. Where are you calling in from?
A city called Texarkana, on the Texas-Arkansas border.
Okay, great. Yeah, so what stage is your website, and do you feel like you're stuck in this stage?
Well, I guess I'm not as stuck as I'm just completely brand new and I don't know where to start. But I just don't know what niche to follow. I agree with you on that you need to focus on something, and I was thinking on maybe business listings and events.
Okay. And are you looking to target a specific industry or a specific town or city?
Yeah, probably just a small community within Texarkana called Liberty ILO.
That's perfect. When you focus on a more specific niche, when you approach the businesses or whoever are the potential members of your site, the more specific your site is, the more relatable it is to those potential members. And you could really write a strong mission statement about how you're trying to empower the local businesses and establishments in your area. And having that strong, very specific mission statement is going to make your job a lot easier when you're trying to get people to join and subscribe to your website. So having events and maybe a preferred business directory or a local shopping guide would be a great place to start for your first directory.
Oh, great. Well, thank you very much, and I'm enjoying the webinar.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us, BJ. All right, let's looking for a way to get started. Looks like he's got a good mindset. Hopefully this webinar will help keeping the idea simple and only focusing on a few pieces of the site to launch first. Let's see if there's anyone else that's got their hand raised here. We see a Michelle, but it shows she's offline, so we'll move on with the presentation. I wanted to go back actually one slide, Pat, if it's okay. I was curious to know, again, by a show of hands, if anyone is using testimonials on their site or anyone that's actually written a more concrete mission or about page for their site. And maybe we could take a look at some examples. If anyone wants to use the raise your hand feature here. All right, we got a couple people here. Esther, our good friend Esther, how are you today?
Hey, how are you?
Awesome. Esther was the Showcase My Website winner last webinar, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. Your website was, again, also serving a local area in Florida, correct?
Yeah, the Tampa Bay region.
The Tampa Bay region. You've done a phenomenal job with your site. And are you using like having a strong mission page or testimonials on your site?
I'm not doing testimonials yet, but I do have a pretty strong About Us page.
Do you mind if we check it out together?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, what was the name of your site again?
Localshops1.com.
Local shops one. There it is right there. Got it saved from last time. All right, so, oh yeah, you did a great job on your site lowering the image sizes and everything. So where would be your About page? Why local?
No, the About.
Okay. I also like that you have a Why local tab there. All right. This is great. Here's what we do. You have a picture of your team and maybe some of the local businesses here.
Yeah.
You have
some of our more active members.
You have your story here about how you got started. This is great. We work with businesses, artists, nonprofits. This is phenomenal. People want to connect to a story rather than just knowing how a website works, like search, find, and connect. That's good to start, but you want to expand on that. And I love the word that you used, involved, because people want to be part of a community and they want to feel like they're part of a movement. So using the word involved here is very powerful, Esther, in what you've done here. So it's not just a directory of businesses. This is a movement to really help the local community. And you're promoting some signature events here, and how to keep in touch, joining our network. So it's some really good information here. And then you have news release. So this really shows me that you're established, you're credible, number one. That's another thing, is establishing credibility. And that you have a pulse. I love seeing the smiley faces at the top of the page. It's very welcoming. So you've done a lot of good things here. You've established authority, credibility, likability with the smiles, and you're showing that your website has a pulse. And it's nothing more complicated than a page with, there's a lot of text here, but you've broken it up nicely between bullet points, nice fat titles here, bold titles, and a nice image at the top. So I think you've done a really good job here, Esther.
Do you should add testimonials here, or? Should they be somewhere else?
You could add testimonials on maybe on the sidebars just to fill some of the white space. The white space isn't a terrible thing, but maybe in between the sections you can add horizontal testimonials and things like that. But I think overall it's good. Again, I'm saying there's a lot of text, but I think you've done a good job breaking it up into simple paragraphs, so it's not too overwhelming. And again, it's your mission page, so it should be more about text and things like that. I think your titles are the key here, and you've done a good job with the titles. I feel like you're really in touch with the community with this page.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for sharing your site with us yet again, Esther. Let's see if there's anyone else here. Melanie. Melanie, I've unmuted your mic. How you doing?
Hi, good. You're just talking about being stuck, and I feel like my site might be too busy. You're saying, keep it simple.
Sure.
So I was kind of raising my hand.
Do you mind sharing your site? We could take a quick look at it. Maybe Pat has some tips to kind of simplify the focus.
Sure. It's youmemine.com. So I've done a lot of work to it, but I'm almost wondering if I did too much to it.
Okay. Yeah, I was just saying, I remember you were on the previous webinars. It's to find egg donors and surrogates and a directory of them. My first, at first glance, it looks nice. It doesn't look too complicated. You might want to just aesthetically maybe increase the font size here or make it bolder. This is your main title here, and it's the same size as your subtitle down here.
Okay.
Again, I don't think the site is too busy. It's very straightforward. So, it looks like you worked with a designer on this. I would just increase the font size, maybe even make it bold. Let's just see. Just something to make it stand out more.
I think it may be paused. I'm not sure.
Yes, I was paused. Sorry about that.
All right, thank you.
So let's go back 1 minute, guys. So this is her site. It's a site to find egg donors and surrogates. And what I was saying is I think it's very simple. You can search surrogates or search egg donors. I was recommending making the title a little easier to read. It's a little faint behind the white font against the white grayish background. So you might want to find a way to make this stand out a bit more because it is the main title of your site. Now, what are events? If I'm looking for an egg donor, what's an event I would go to?
They're fertility events, so they're for either people that are looking for egg donors or surrogates, or they're fertility doctors or people in the industry as well.
In that case, I would recommend putting the keyword in there, fertility events. Events is just it's a little vague. It's also good for search engines. It's another place to put a keyword. And eventually, I can't imagine too many people are advertising for fertility events. Your site will start ranking for that keyword phrase over time if you utilize it throughout your site. So if you click on events, it should say upcoming fertility events instead of just upcoming events. So that will help you out a bit there. And then what's the difference between resource directory and articles?
The resource directory is actually my directory. So you click on that, it's the directory part of my site.
Okay, and then where do these search surrogates and search egg donors go to? Is that part of the resource directory?
Nope. That's what I'm wondering. Is a little confusing too. When you click on that, it asks them to sign up. So there's 3 membership types, and one of them, the intended parent, is the search. Okay. It allows them to search. The other 2 are free.
And how is this page working for you? Are you seeing a lot of conversions with this?
Confusing. Not a ton. I feel like people get confused, and also because there's agencies, resource directory, and then I've also had someone recommend that I just make it all free and just make money off ads too. I've had a lot of suggestions.
Gotcha. And if I click on search egg donors, I'm going to get a similar page. Yeah. I know Pat and my recommendation would be to you can make it free, but require them to at least register to search the directory. So register free to search the directory might be a good start. If you're going to keep it paid, instead of choose a membership, get started today, what you want to do if you're going to ask people to sign up for free or paid, you want to reiterate the benefits and what they need to do next. So this would be like get connected with egg donors, right? And then the subtitle, this goes back to like that webinar that I shared, the premium webinar in the chat. It covers how to make sure the content of your site aligns with the actions you want your visitors to complete. So you could say select a plan to search the database now. So you're telling them what's going to happen, and you're telling them what to do. Select a plan to search the database now. See the difference between those two?
Yep.
So I would update the text. I would consider, if you want to, just having the free registration to start. So what happens if I go to resource directory and I click on, so what are these exactly?
Those are all members that are either agencies or resource directory members, so fertility businesses.
Gotcha. Okay.
So it's free.
So
now
I'm a little confused of why I don't need to register to find those, but I need to register to find these specific two. If your site is to find these two, I would focusing on these two. I get the resource directory. It's like ancillary professionals and services and people who can help you in this field. Yeah, my focus would be is maybe try to remove 2 or 3 of these links here and simplify the sign up process. What we want to call it is you want to make it as frictionless as possible to get them to register, to get to the content they're looking for. So I don't think you're far off from it. I think you just maybe, like the homepage is super simple, but once I start trying to search, me personally, I'm a little lost. Do you have any feedback, Pat?
Yeah, I'm thinking you have a unique opportunity in the sense that in this industry, me as a user, I would completely understand why you'd want to vet me before I can start browsing the database. A lot of different industries, people would be turned off from having to give their email to start searching a database. The homepage is so warm, it's so welcoming. I can just really envision your end user. It's exactly the tone that I think your end user wants when they come here. It's beautiful. When I click search egg donors, however, it gets corporate instantly, and it's plans and membership levels, and I lost that feeling. And it's like, oh, this is a business. You're not really trying to help me reach my dreams and this and that. So I think that you've missed an opportunity to translate that initial feeling to a nice, clean landing page. And I think we can show her a simple landing page to start with, Jason. Instead of different pricing plans, I would have it about the mission and why you started the website and the importance of helping this community grow and helping mothers become mothers. And I'm sorry if I'm not using the correct terminology. I get a feeling of it. Now, the thing is, you can tell them that in order for them to access the database, that you have a certain protocol that you need to follow, and they just need to create an account and verify so that they can start browsing your database. So you're going to really start increasing the amount of emails that you're collecting, taking an approach like this. And then what you can do is you can nurture them once they've signed up. They can receive an email sequence, or you can try to upsell them. If there is you'd like to sell to them, you'll be able to do that at that point. But I would probably recommend you're probably getting a lot of people going to the site and maybe not getting the amount of conversions and probably because, like Jason said, it's a little confusing and you're taking them to pricing pages right after the initial visit.
Okay, so I have an about us or our story in there. Excuse me. Under our story. And then, so you say that we should probably have like I should have kind of a story in there, and then on top of that, kind of have those steps.
Yeah, I think. Go ahead, Jason.
I think they could be separate. I think our mission would be better than our story for a site like this. The story, I understand. I'm just thinking what would resonate better with this industry is our mission. Our story is just as good. Yeah, I think you're not far off. I would just find ways to make it a little more frictionless and a little bit more warm and nurturing through the whole process. Pat brought up a good point. You click on this and now it's all business rather than the joy of potential. You're essentially a lead gen site for people who are looking for egg donors or surrogates. So you need to have forms for them to fill out, whether it's the lead gen form that comes with all Brilliant Directory sites, or it's getting them registered as a free member in order to start searching the directory. But I think the key here is free registration for the end user and having a separate section where the surrogates pay to be listed, or whoever the paying people are. So you're going to have two different audiences here: the end user who's looking for the services, and then the people who are offering the eggs and being surrogates. So just think about ways to make it a little more frictionless. And again, like registered, is that who's registering exactly? Is it the person who's looking for an egg donor or the person who is the egg donor?
Just the parents who are looking for egg donors. I have about 2,200 or 2,300 egg donors in there right now, profiles that they can search for and search through, and it changes every day.
So this is parent registration. How do you spell? Okay, so this is parent registration.
It's actually for any of them, because that's where the agencies would sign up and the businesses would sign up there too.
What type of agencies?
The agency is the one that has the they're kind of I say I'm like a Zillow for egg donors, so it's almost like a real estate agency. They have the egg donors, and then I post the profiles for them. I'm kind of just
okay. I see what you're saying here. Okay. I got you. I totally understand. Okay. And this is the resource directory of like all the other people, like the other people who service this industry. Okay.
Yeah.
You might want to get rid of that one. We're going to want to use the offset here. So we'll just use Rick's little trick here. Col MD offset. I don't know. We'll just do 3 for now. All right. I guess we'll do 2. And what you should do is, what's the name of these agencies? Providers? Like
there's agencies, like egg donor agencies and surrogate agencies. So
okay, so what are right, egg donor and surrogates. What? So we need a word that encompasses both of those, like provider agents, agency providers, or
they're pretty much just called egg donor and surrogate agencies. So the other one would be other businesses.
Right. Okay.
We could just put business. We could just put fertility businesses, and I could lump them all together.
Yes, fertility agencies. Thank you. Fertility agent. That was the word I was looking for. Fertility agencies or intended parents. So now you have 2 audiences. We get rid of the third one. Automatically, this, and then if you have the top here, it's clear. So intended parents, I know what lane I'm going to go in if I come to your site. And then the fertility agencies, I know what lane I'm going to go in. So again, if you could decide how you want to make this more frictionless to remove the friction from the sign-up process, but I would get rid of the third option here, and these are your 2 audiences here, in my opinion, and figure out how to get them registered as smoothly as possible on your site, whether it's free or paid and whatnot.
Yes, this is much clearer.
All right, let's just duplicate. This is what it was before, and then this is what it is now. It's very easy to pick a lane now.
Yes, I agree.
All right, well, I'm glad we figured out fertility agencies. Try to use the word fertility or, around your site. Parent registration. The parent registration it could just be free sign up, and it takes them directly to a free sign up page where they register. It doesn't have to take them to a pricing page like this. So you might want to consider that as well. Yeah, I think those are some things you can do on your site. I think you have a great starting point here. You just need to kind of make it a little less complicated.
Okay, great. That's really helpful. Thank you.
All right, thank you for sharing your site. So Pat, what's a lesson to be learned from this? Because everything, on first look looks all right, but as we kind of clicked around, we noticed that it just didn't feel smooth. That's also why.
Yeah. I think the lesson, Jason, is in this case, applying the initial lesson, it would have been to define one persona, right? Who am I solving a problem for? Am I solving a problem for the egg donors? Am I solving a problem for the surrogate mothers, for people looking for egg donors? And have content that supports that. I just quickly Googled because I was just curious, and I'm like, how much, what are the most common questions people ask about being egg donors? And it's like, is it painful to be an egg donor? Is it dangerous to be an egg donor? How much does an egg donor make? And I was surprised to see it's between $8,000 to $14,000, but it can be painful. It is a long process. It is a big commitment. And I'm thinking, wow, there's so much fascinating content here that would be perfect for that warm landing page that we're talking about. So if I really did a good job understanding what the problems I'm solving for egg donors are, and I had content that supported it, when you click that button, there'd be incredible content. There'd be FAQs, there'd be supporting materials, there'd be an entire funnel where people can get educated and say, wow, these people are the experts when it comes to egg donations. Maybe I want to take a step further, rather than just a pretty homepage. Click the button and say, wow, they want my information right now. I don't know much about them. How much do they know about this industry? Is there a better organization that can handle this? And again, it's a bite size, because right now we're trying to cater to many different types of businesses, but we don't have very focused, detailed content that supports any of those in a sales funnel to get them to engage with the website. That's a long-winded answer, but
Right. Well, I see there's some articles here, so she's on the right track. But yeah, you want to bring your best foot forward and really ease people's concerns. You want to address people's doubts and fears. And the better you can do that on your website, the more people are going to trust your website, because you're providing them with content that kind of reduces their emotional worries. So yeah. This is a good site to share. Thank you, Melanie, for doing that. And let's move on with we're on number 3 about designing a simple website. That was a great example. I see that you've done a lot of development on your website. I think it's really nice. Now we just have to focus on number 2, Melanie, which is the simple navigation and being direct. Let's move on to number 4 here, driving traffic to your site. I know, Pat, you're an expert on driving traffic to your site, not because you're an expert in all fields, but you know how to pivot, dodge and duck and try different things. Can you tell us a little bit about driving traffic to your site and what to do if you're not an expert on this?
Sure thing. So there's a lot. The key here is really to be adventurous in trying things out, and to really have an open mind and say, I'm gonna try as many things as it takes until I eventually find out what works for my particular industry. Just to stay on the last website, and then you had mentioned it. Right now we're trying to get parents to sign up, but perhaps what I should be doing is I should have a lead gen form, similar like a matchmaking website. Perhaps what would be the most effective for this industry would be for her to drive traffic via Facebook campaign that have parents fill out what they look for in an egg donor, ideally, or the characteristics they look for in a child. And perhaps the game of it all, the gamification, is that her site will match them to egg donors that meet their criteria. That could take off. Maybe there's nothing out there like that, taking the approach of a dating site, but making it for her fertility site. I think that's an example of an A/B test where you say, you know what? I'm going to try this campaign. Maybe that's what I do to get the parents engaged, or maybe I get them to subscribe to a newsletter, or maybe I get them to sign up as members. What I need to do is I need to have the meaningful content, and I need to say I'm going to drive traffic to different pages on my websites, and I'm going to try to identify which of these strategies get the most amount of emails, because I need to get users on my site.
That's great. So basically, not being afraid to fail and trying different things, even investing a little bit of money. Not a lot of money, but a little bit of money into Facebook advertising. There's tons of videos online on how to set up a Facebook ad and bring people to your site. Same with Google ads. And Google might not be good for you. Facebook might be better. It depends if it's lifestyle versus people are like searching keyword intent. So again, trying different things, trying small budgets, and trying different landing pages or different types of content that will appeal to people. Because you could be driving traffic successfully, but it's to a page that people keep leaving right away. So you want to find a combination of how do you drive traffic and how do you drive traffic to the page that's going to resonate the most with those people. And again, that's where you say you have to A/B test like crazy. What does that mean to A/B test like crazy, Pat, when it comes to driving traffic, and why is that important?
All right, so A/B test. If you're not A/B testing, then you can never know with certainty that a certain approach is working. For example, perhaps I say we use the same website again. The best way to get parents to sign up on their website is to have a membership level that they can sign up for and become a member of the community. If that's my assumption and I launched the website with that assumption and that's the only thing I ever try with parents because I assume that that's the best way to do it, unless I try different approaches, I can never prove that that theory was correct. An A/B test would be having an open mind and saying, I'm going to have two different strategies for getting parents to sign up. I'm going to have one where they fill out a lead form where they want to be matched with an egg donor. And they're not going to become members. They're going to become a lead in the lead engine, and I'll match them to the egg donors, and I'll see if that works, and I'll see if I can nurture them via newsletters and maybe upsell them or have them join my Facebook group, so on and so forth. And I'll compare that to another approach where it's to get them to sign up for a profile, and they can browse the directory and find their own egg donors. I want to try both of those. That will be my A and B test, and I'll spend $100 on each for a month, driving traffic, equal amounts of marketing dollars. And at the end of the month, I'm going to see which one was most successful. It's important you set your goal on how you're going to evaluate success. In this case, I would say how many emails I collected in total. And then that's what I would declare my winner from my A/B test. And then I can develop that theory a little further.
Got you. So it's about directing people to different pages with subtle changes, not drastic ones, so you can know which subtle changes are performing better. And it could be as simple as the text, kind of how we changed the title text here. Maybe you test choose your membership compared to what I had written earlier, like get connected with fertility experts.
And I have a very simple example, incredibly simple, if you want me to share it real quick.
Yeah, can I pass the controls over to you?
Yep.
Okay,
yep.
Let's do it. Here you go.
And I was mentored by somebody who is fanatical about A/B testing, and he was actually voted one of the 5,000 fastest growing businesses in the United States this year. I was a part of that project when they had their first customer, and they're now generating over $6 million a year. So they're doing really, really well for themselves. And all he does is the smallest of changes. He changes background colors of buttons, words, and titles, and very, very simple, subtle changes. But sometimes, for example, join our premier community. I would like to test that against get your first 2 customers for free. I think that everybody here can kind of probably guess which would work better. I'm assuming it would be this one, but it'd be interesting to see if I drive 100 people to this page and I drive 100 people to this page, which one performs better. Perhaps this one will perform 50 times better than the other one. So then I would declare this one the winner. And then what I can do is I could practice one with the red background and one with an orange background and drive traffic and see if the color impacts the psychology of the consumer. And then I can declare that one a winner. And I'm continually making the winner stronger compared to defending champion. But if you're continually making the winner stronger each month or each week, that's something that eventually becomes a highly optimized landing page. How can I identify which one wins? It's quite simple. What I did is this link right here. All I did was change the title of the landing page, and I changed the membership level. So I created 2 membership levels. If I click on these 2 links, you'll notice that the names are different. So I need to understand which one is different, which one is which. This one is the special offer listing, and this one is the interior designer contributor listing. So when I look at my membership levels, inside the Brilliant Directories platform, I'm going to know which one is winning based on how many people are signing up for that individual membership level. And again, it's a very simple change. All I needed to do was copy the landing page and change the link of the membership level form and change whatever item it is I'd like to compare in that A/B test.
So small amount of setup. When you're doing an A/B test, just do a subtle change so you know that that's what's responsible for being the winner, and then just keep making 1 or 2 changes at a time per test. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly what I'm saying. The most subtle of changes. At the moment that you change more than one thing on a landing page, it's no longer an A/B test because you'll never know which of those 2 items that you changed contributed to the higher conversion rate.
I got you. And I love how you have 2 different membership levels, but I'm assuming you just cloned one so they have the exact same features assigned to them.
Yes, correct. So I came here, I went to actions, and I cloned it. And then I just renamed it the clone.
Gotcha.
So it has exactly the same features. They have exactly the same welcome email when they sign up, the same experience. So it's a fair comparison in the A/B testing.
Got you. That's genius. That's a really easy way to do it. I see we got Philip has his hand up, and I want to go to Philip here. Philip, did you
pass it back to you?
Thanks, Pat. Hey, Philip, I've unmuted your microphone here. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you very much.
All right. Did you have a question about your site or one of these steps that we're talking about here?
Yeah, I put my hand up in the one before, but I'm happy with either subject 3 or 4.
Whatever you want. It's your day today, Philip.
I think 3. I think, yeah, but we're looking at the design of the website and whether I've overdeveloped it and got too much on it.
Okay.
It launched about, I think, mid-September or something, so it's new, fairly new, really still.
What's the name of your site?
And the site is www.teacher.yoga.
All right, let's load that up. All right. I love your colors, by the way.
Thanks.
Okay, so you launched not too long ago, just a few weeks ago, to be honest. And yoga is a great industry. There's always people seeking to find yoga content or to contribute to the yoga content, whether they're instructors or making videos or writing articles with tips. So tell us how the site's doing for you and where you think you're stuck.
Okay, how's the site doing? Well, I'm sort of happy. I think we got people to sign up right from the beginning, so people are joining. I think I should focus more on creating content for users, not teachers. We created quite a bit of content for teachers. One of the main missions was to and there is an R story, by the way. So if you go to the very top under home, there's an R story. I don't know whether that should be mission now that you've mentioned it, or
story is fine. Story makes it a little more at home in a way. Mission makes it a little more organizational, like if you're an organization. So both work. It just depends on your audience.
Yeah. Okay. So what the idea was to list sort of classes. And originally I started with just sort of listing classes, but then I found that people put retreats and workshops in the classes section, which then made it look really untidy. So I decided I was going to add retreats and workshops later on and teacher trainings. So I then added them in separate sections, and basically I've moved some of the content into the right places and things like that. So it's sort of, I can't change people's behavior. Yeah, there's no yoga spaces at the moment. There are classes and retreats. Classes is probably one of the better listings. But then, I've got a support ticket in at the moment, because at the moment people can put classes in without end dates, if they've done repeated ones. Therefore, they all appear at the top of the listing.
I saw that.
Yeah, and I just want to make it so that they have to put in an end date, otherwise they're sort of working the system, so to speak. So, but that's okay. We can sort that out. So I didn't know whether it had got too messy. There's quite a bit of content that I've written for yoga teacher marketing. trying to attract yoga teachers. And the pricing page, I concentrated on the two at the top. I'm not really expecting so many people to sign up to premium plans right now, because I think it would need more teachers on there and more students before they would. But I mean, I could be mistaken. I don't really know. It's early days.
Got you. Well, first of all, I think you've done an amazing job for just a few weeks of work. You've established a lot of sections of your site. What I think this site is missing is there are a lot of yoga directory sites out there to find yoga instructors, yoga classes, yoga retreats. We've seen examples in Webinar Wednesdays actually on those. I think you need one more angle that makes your site a little extra special, that provides a unique offering that those other sites might not offer. And I think that comes with the slogan or motto of your site. So let's go into the brainstorming lab for a second.
And Jason, would I be fair to say that this ties into the first point of our presentation? When you're doing this, you're trying to answer a need. There's a mission. There's a reason why this site exists. We have to figure out what it is you're solving different from the other directories. And if that could be in the slogan somehow, some way, to start, it'd be incredibly helpful.
Absolutely. You bring up a great point. So we're basically going back to step one on this, Phil. And the reason I want to talk about a slogan or a motto or what the main title on your homepage is going to be is that will help guide you on what the rest of your site will be. So what we want to do is touch on an emotional point, and I'll just come up with one quickly, right? Like we can work on this, but we'll just use the word top-rated yoga. And again, I know that retreat signed up and everything like that, but let's focus on yoga classes. And again, we want to come up with something emotional to find peace in your, or balance, right? To find balance.
So you would put the slogan directly to yoga students, the end users?
Well, your site is to connect, from what I understand, it says find yoga. So I would assume it's for people to find yoga students that want to find yoga classes and people that I can kind of spend time with to find balance in my life. Or
so the benefits, one of the benefits of yoga, for instance, would be useful in the slogan.
Yeah. So again, you could do like trusted yoga classes to find, balance. I'm just coming up with something off the top of my head, but this can be your slogan. This could be your title here. And then let's simplify it further. Why do people do yoga? Give me two reasons people do yoga. I'll give you one answer is fitness, right?
Fitness and stress.
Okay, so to stress relief, right? And those are two different types of yoga classes, right? The intense ones and the hot rooms. I mean, they're both stress relief and they're both fitness, but those could be the categories people are searching for, because the yoga space, yoga studio, and yoga teacher. I think I would simplify this and teacher training school. That would be for the yoga people who are yoga instructors looking to people who want to become yoga instructors, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd probably remove that. I'd have everything geared towards people looking for
to the end users.
To the end user. So I don't know the difference between a space and a studio.
Okay. Now the idea again, the yoga space is directed towards the yoga teachers. It's spaces for rent for the yoga teachers to use.
And I'm so happy we're going over this, Jason, because we didn't exactly touch on this, but I see this all the time. We always refer to features, right? Don't launch with classifieds and coupons and events and properties. But this is the same as launching with 8 features. If you launch with studios and spaces and trainers and courses and providers, suppliers, products, if you launch, that's the same as launching with 8 features. Now you need to fill those categories and you need to give a good user experience, and we cannot have a singular message. We can't solve the problem for everybody. We can solve the problem for one person to start with and build that content. So who are we solving a problem for? What is the niche? What is the focus of the website that we launch with? And then, of course, in the second cycle, then we introduce teachers, then we introduce courses. The fifth cycle will introduce studios. That can be how you can grow your brand, but you'll never launch a new member type or target a different industry within your industry until you have the marketing materials to support it.
Yeah, no, I hear you. I think what I did was we actually launched with just yoga studios, yoga teachers, and yoga classes, and that's all. And I think I got overexcited after about 3 or 4 weeks and added the rest in. So
Gotcha.
probably need to review that.
Yeah, I'm thinking type of classes could be private sessions, group classes. What other I know you have all the different types of yoga here. I fell into this trap before also. Bikram yoga and mixed and power and vinyasa. So maybe, yeah.
So that's so would you put the types of yoga as a, what do you call it, a subcategory rather than a subcategory?
Yeah, I think you should simplify the categories. They can be subcategories. I don't think you need it on the homepage search. You can simplify. You could just have your top level category or sub level category on your homepage. Just have the type of yoga and the location that people are looking for, and just have them search.
When I created the other features, I did wonder whether I shouldn't have had them as features, but just had them all as yoga events or yoga or find yoga, just have it as a category yoga, and then have a top level, sorry, not a top level category of yoga, a second level category of it was either a class or a workshop or a retreat or a teacher training, and then the actual type as a subcategory. Would that have been more clear?
Yeah, that could be more clear. You know, on your homepage, I would actually just have the location search, to be honest. And so people put find yoga near you, just put your location and it starts your journey. You know.
Ah, nice. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
People in yoga.
Jason, I'll try to simplify that lesson a little bit more, and it's a good rule of thumb. We're talking about top level, sub level, sub level category. So my rule of thumb is you start with the location search. When you tell somebody, hey, I'm based in, where are you based? What's your home base? I know it's a global site, but where are you launching out of? Where do you have the most members right now?
I focused on London.
Okay. So if I can go in and put in a postal code and tell different random people, enter a random postal code, and whoever I ask that to, they always get 20, 25 results regardless of the postal code. Then at that point I say, okay, well maybe I'm going to expand to a new location. And until you can always guarantee a great result just with the location searches, you shouldn't look into introducing categories. Then you're going to introduce a top level category when there's so many results that you want to make it easier to filter from the beginning, because they're going to get hundreds of results and it's not helpful. So it's really good to start with a simple location search like Jason is saying until it gets out of hand, which is a good problem to have, and then you introduce additional filtering.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's a great idea. Why not make it yoga just about London right now, then expand to the UK, then expand to, then you can expand to the world after that. Maybe you want to go into another country, but that way you can focus your efforts on, at least start with the UK. That way when you go to pitch potential yoga studios to join or teachers, and you say that it's a yoga site in the UK, it's going to be much easier than saying it's a worldwide yoga site. And it's also easier for you to market to potential end users because you want to target people in the UK. And basically what you're doing, Phil, is you're creating a marketplace. You have a marketplace of end users looking for yoga stuff, and you have the yoga providers who are advertising their services. And when you're building, this is why it's important to build a more niche site, is you're building a marketplace, and it's easier to balance the marketplace, not only to get people to join, but also the end users that you're going to start marketing your site to come to your site. So you want to think about that marketplace and how to make your job easier to balance that marketplace. If you have 1,000 professionals in London, but all your end users are in the US, that's an unbalanced marketplace. So I think Pat hit it on the nail on the head here is, why don't you also add another layer of specificity to the site, and also make it just about the UK right now, since you're just a few weeks into your site.
Yeah, okay.
And you're going to start ranking in Google better for UK yoga classes, because your site's going to be super powerful in that. So what you can do is you can go to your general settings here, and you've put industry name and profession name as yoga. You can do UK yoga classes, and whatever you want, UK yoga and UK yoga classes, and that adds an extra level of SEO to your site. So you'll probably rank better for this if you wanted to. All right, so
yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure, and like one last thing, this goes back to creating less friction, right? So when I suggested just have the location search on the homepage, that's helping to reduce friction. It's less things for people to fill out. And since your site is just starting out, just tell them to search locations. And why don't you just focus on the UK? So chances are they're going to find people on the other side of that marketplace.
Yeah, okay, I got you. Yeah, right. Okay. Yeah, I really appreciate the help. Thank you.
All right, good stuff. Thank you for sharing your site. So Pat, on the surface, it seems like a very simple site, and everything looks like it's set up perfectly. But after clicking around a little bit, it's no one's fault. It's just about being part of these webinars and being part of the Facebook group and talking these things out. And again, goes back to A/B testing. But I think for this site, it was going towards and we talked about it in the previous webinar, it was going towards being everything for everyone in the yoga industry. Retreats, classes, teachers looking for spaces to rent so they can teach their classes. That would be great for classified sections on this site, but that could be released in a phase 2. That could be here's step 1 is find a need to fill. Number 4 on this is break up your project into releases. Maybe in another release, once he gets all the teachers listed, they might have those are the teachers that might have free time to sublease some of their spaces, and they could post classifieds so they could fill their empty hours throughout the days and the weeks. Because if I'm renting a studio if I'm leasing a studio, there's times where I might not work on Sunday, and I could lease out my studio to another instructor on Sundays. But I need the instructors first.
You're absolutely right. And a lot of times, if I'm on a consultation call, and like I said, this happens very frequently, I often thank the person on the line saying, "Okay, thank you. Now I know where you want to be when all of this is done. Where would you like to begin?" It's kind of the brainstorm, right? Here's everything we could possibly do. It's good to do that. It's not even a bad idea. If you want to go through the exercise, just practicing and putting all the links and thinking of everything your site could do, it's not a bad idea to do that if it's a brainstorming exercise and saying, wow, these are all the things we could be doing. Now that we know what's possible, let's pick one. Where are we going to start with all of these? And then let's start removing the sections that we're not going to use, and let's go through those cycles and start applying that strategy to the one thing, the one problem we're going to solve for the one type of member that we're going to target and the one location we want to start in.
That's right. I think that's a great strategy. List out everything you could possibly do and then choose one. The one that's the low-hanging fruit, the one that's going to be easiest to execute and get off the ground, so you could start getting subscribers and members to join your site.
Exactly. It is not a bad exercise to do what he did and to know everything that's possible. Your subconscious can do some amazing stuff, connections, networking, opportunities that present themselves. It's not a waste of time to go through the exercising of figuring everything out that's possible. But after you've done that, is to choose one of them and really focus on that one element.
And I like that you took the time to write your story here. Having an Our Story or Our Mission page really adds value when people are considering to join your site. So kudos and good on you for doing that, Phil. Pat, I want to unmute one more person here before we get to, we were on number 4. Brian, I want to unmute you. You've had your hand up for quite a while there, Brian. How you doing, Brian?
Yeah, hey, this is actually Ben. I logged in under Brian's name.
Who's that? Ben?
This is Ben. Actually, Brian registered, and we're both on the same link.
Hey, it's just
okay.
people helping people. So Ben, how can we help you today?
Yeah, a couple questions if you don't mind. One on just the site. Hi, Pat. I know Pat too. That what do you think on, and my site's under construction. I just trying to change something, but using scrollers and video on the homepage.
Using scrollers? What do you mean by scrollers?
The content scrollers on a homepage.
Yeah, I think if it's done tastefully and you don't clutter your homepage, and when I say clutter, I mean you've lost people on the actions you want them to do. There's just too much. It's information overload. I think explainer videos are helpful. So the scrollers, you mean like carousels, so people can continuously slide left and right?
Yeah, well, vertically up and down.
Vertically up and down. My response is if it's done tastefully and it adds value to the end user and it helps rather than confuse them further, I'd say it's good. If you're just adding it just to add it and there really isn't any meaningful value that the user's gaining from that additional information, my advice is always to remove as much as possible.
Okay, thanks. And then another question I have on driving traffic to your site is that I know there's a email campaign feature on Brilliant Directories, but if you were to use a third party like what's it called, Chimpmail or Aweber, is there anything you should be aware of as far as using that as a method to drive traffic to your site?
I actually prefer using like MailChimp or Constant Contact or Aweber. I would say you can send newsletters from Brilliant Directories, but it's not the most robust functionality. So what I like to do is make a list of members that I want to target, and what you can do is you can go to your members here, and if you have the add-on, there's an export member results. So you can search for specific members. So if you wanted to search, UK members, you can search them. That should pull up the country. And you can export them. And then what you can do, Ben, is then import them into a more robust emailing platform like MailChimp and Aweber and do your email marketing from there. And I think you'll see good results. You can build out better email templates and things like that. Both are good. It just depends what you're more comfortable with using. But definitely emailing and staying in touch with your members is a must, which brings us to number 5, follow up with your members. What a great segue there, which is emailing your members.
Yeah, tough to plan that one better.
Does that help answer your question, Ben, a little bit?
Sure. And is there, when you use those services, I know that this is not your core offering, but when you use something like Chimpmail or Aweber, is there words that if you put in there that might just immediately get you in a spam filter? I mean, is there something that you need to be aware of so it doesn't get spammed out?
Yeah. So
yes.
You want to take that one, Pat?
There's quite a few words that you can that you want to go through. I'm going to share a link in the chat right now. It's really good. So what it does, this software that I'm about to share with everybody in the chat, and maybe Jason, you can click on it. What it does is it says, hey, send me your email to this email. Send me the email you're going to send your members, and I'm going to give you a spam report. It's going to break it down into the words you use. Is there all caps? Is the word free in there? Is there obviously anything about money, investments, buy, sell, anything that's related to that sort of industry? Obviously, pornographic words will get you blacklisted, anything along those lines. There's a whole inventory of them, but also what it's going to do, this tool, is go deeper than that and really give you great analytics on all the things you should be optimizing on your website. The second thing that this tool cannot do, that a lot of people make a mistake with, is they buy email lists. That's a big taboo, primarily for this reason. If you ever buy an email list, and usually those email lists, they've gotten very advanced with putting in dummy email addresses that are purposely in there. So Gmail and Hotmail, and they're all going to come out, and they release a ton of fake emails that they know have never opted into any lists. And they know if that email ever comes to them, then that person who sent that newsletter, they obviously bought a list illegally. And once your sender IP starts getting a negative mark, then you're really going to have trouble getting emails landing in people's inboxes. So I think if you, as long as you make sure you have an authentic email list and you didn't purchase it, and then you run through this test, you should be in a really good position to have a successful non-spammy email.
Great, excellent. And if you're offering something like a free ebook, what words would you use if you don't use the word free?
You wouldn't use free, definitely in the, well, again, it depends on how many lists, it depends how big your list is, if you've sent from them before, if it really depends on a lot of factors. It doesn't mean just because free is in the subject line, it won't go through, but that's why they say 5 ways to retain your customers, instead of saying download a free ebook in the subject line. That's why the topic is often, when you look at your inbox and you analyze what they have as subject lines, they very rarely tell you what the action is, and they tell you what the topic is, specifically to avoid those spam filters. But again, this tool will lay it all out for you.
And just one last question, Pat, is does the spam read your subject line and the content of the letter? Does it read both of it?
Yes, it does. Definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, it also, one thing, for example, on Brilliant Directories, you want to make sure that you're always sending from the same domain that your website's on. You don't want to be representing a domain that you're not actually authorized to be using. So on. There's a lot of factors. If you put whatever email you'd like to test, if you send it to whatever email it generates for you, because it's always a different number. The one that Jason's seeing is different than the one that I'm seeing because we're on different emails. Everyone gets a unique number. If you send it to yours, you'll get a very detailed report, and it's really going to give you all the analytics you need on that.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that. Really great. Yeah.
You got it. That's what we're here for.
Awesome info there, Pat. Yeah, I think a rule of thumb with newsletters is be direct and keep it simple. If you're doing nefarious or weird subject lines, it might not get delivered to the recipient. But with a tool like this, you can be rest assured if your email is too spammy or not too spammy. It's always okay to be just a little bit spammy because you really need to get people. You got to do something a little bit just to make sure they open that email. But there's a threshold, and that a tool like that will let you know when you're way past the threshold. So that brings us to number 5 here is let's backtrack a bit. After you drive traffic to your site, you've designed your site, you write awesome copy for your site, and you find out what the needs are of your site, people are going to be joining your site. And you should interact with those people and develop relationships with them. At least we always recommend your first 100 members. So Pat, what does it mean to develop relationships, and what kind of value could someone expect from taking the time to call or get personal with the people that are joining their site?
So I really like what's in bold and in red there, and the people I've seen succeed the most with an online directory getting started out really lived by this rule. This was taught to me by somebody else. And the first 100 customers or the first members and users you get on your website will be your everything, will most likely define whether or not your venture will succeed or not. And really investing heavily in these first 100 members, knowing them by name, knowing where they're from, what their interests are, why they joined their website, what problems they have that they'd like your website to solve, what features they'd like for you to develop, what business they own. You should know everything about your first 100 members. The reason why is in building a relationship like that, you're going to get into the psyche of your end users. Up until people start using your website, you're basing everything on personal assumptions. Perhaps you did some market research. Perhaps you have partners on the project. There's 5 of you, and you're sharing ideas and you're brainstorming. But everything is an assumption until you get real users using your solution. So you really want to get into their psyche, and you want to learn what's missing, what you're doing well, how you should be targeting them, and what new features you should be developing as you're deciding on those next phases.
That's super advice. And most importantly, when people join your site, you want to make them feel like they're part of a club, and they just didn't they're not a nameless person on your site. They know who the owner of the site is. How cool is that? They know who the founders of some of these site examples that we see. You know who the founder is of one yoga directory, and that person, you can actually talk to them and have a conversation with them. So number 3 is invite them to your Facebook group. Now, a lot of you are part of our Brilliant Directories Facebook group. It's a great way to carry on the conversation, get feedback, having members help each other. So if you don't have a Facebook group or you're not familiar with it, you can Google on best strategies for launching a Facebook group. It's free, but once you have that group, you can build better relationships, maybe not through phone calls, but through Facebook conversations. You can do surveys and ask your members directly, if they want a certain feature or something needs to be changed. But once you have that Facebook group, it's going to grow over time, and people are going to want to join as they see more people are participating in that group. So eventually it'll have a snowball effect. So yes, they're a member on your directory, and a great way to add more value to their membership is to allow them to be part of your exclusive group on Facebook, where they can ask you questions directly and you can help them. And the more you help them, the more value you're providing as an organization to your members. So we put number 3 on a list. And number 4, which is a little more complex, is creating an onboarding workflow. So if you offer more than just a directory listing, maybe you have a print directory, maybe you're going to offer marketing services outside of the directory, you can create an onboarding workflow that not only introduces you to your new members, but lets them know the next steps that come with their membership. And there are other things we can add to this list related to following up with your members. One thing is that I like is just to show your members something special is writing an article on them and maybe showcasing them on your site about their talents and what they've done in the industry. And you're also creating shareable content that way. And that's another way to engage and get their attention beyond just letting them have their directory listing on your site.
That's correct. And also, if you call them and you welcome them, you can always surprise them. Keep this in mind, especially if they paid. They're expecting a return on their investment. So they're going to be very judgmental of what their first couple of months are going to be on your website. And paid for a monthly fee or a yearly fee, they're going to be very critical if something goes wrong or they're not getting the traffic they want. So for the first 100 members, you could always wow your customers. And you can Google this, examples of wowing your customers, and see how that just leads to more business. So imagine if Jason signed up for my directory and he just paid $59.99 for the year, and I called him to personally welcome him, and I shared with him that my goal is to build a network for him and to help get him more customers, and that he's one of my first 100 members, and I want to give him my highest membership tier for life, and he's never going to pay again. And I just hope that in return he can really be a part of my community. He can provide me with some good feedback. We can help build this thing together, and hopefully you can maybe give me a couple testimonials. Maybe you can help me connect some people in his community. But I'm going to wow Jason. I'm going to give him the best opportunity. I need to stand out from all the other businesses. I need to put a face on my business. I can't deliver the traffic. I can't deliver the metrics. I just launched and he just paid. So either I got to go into overdrive and try to deliver something I'm unlikely to deliver, or I can just build a relationship and give him an inside look into my business and saying I'm just starting out, and really get him on my side and make him feel like, wow, he was there at the ground floor and he's a part of something.
You brought up a good point there, Pat. A lot of people, when they start their directories, their membership communities, they start counting the dollars in their head on, if I get 100 members at $20, now I'm at $2,000 a month and this and that. But instead of, in the early stages, instead of counting the money in your head, you should quantify the value you're giving to your newest members, because there's going to be a return on that investment that you're giving to your first members. So even if they paid, you could definitely surprise them potentially with a lifetime membership to your highest plan. Get them to be advocates and evangelists of your site, to talk to their colleagues and turn those members into marketers for you. And that's going to save you in the long run on your marketing dollars. So being kind and extra generous to your first members is an investment in your business. So rather than counting the dollars in your head early on, quantify how much value you're giving to your early stage members and how much long-term value they'll bring to your site, being part of it, being a valuable asset to your community. And some key takeaways from this. This is one of my favorite tips of the week, Pat. It's gone long, but we got some great website examples out of it. I'll just run through these real quick, and then I'll take some questions from the audience. Some key takeaways here is don't get stuck on one of the steps for too long. So the only way this thing works is, yes, you can work on designing your site. You can work on driving traffic, but you need to continuously move from step to step and always come back to step one to see if you've identified a new problem and new offering that you can provide to your community. So again, number 2 here, cycle through the steps for continuous growth. That's the most important thing. Don't get stuck in that design phase, and try to keep your design as simple as possible. Testing different strategies is key, whether it's for driving traffic, whether it's for your different landing pages. As long as you keep moving, you're going to find something that sticks. So what we're trying to do here is we're trying to not stay static, and we want to have some kinetic energy and continuously move from idea to idea until we find out what works best for this industry. And again, don't wait for perfection. A lot of people don't launch their sites because they're waiting for everything to be pixel perfect and et cetera. Remove things from your website, and you can always add and evolve things later. There's no such thing as a perfect website. Any website online today is still being developed and worked on and refined and fine-tuned. So don't wait for perfection. Get your product out to the market as quickly as possible and start getting feedback and subscribers. And again, that ties into number 5, your site will evolve over time. And lastly, don't be shy to connect with your members, your first 100 members at least. Add them to your Facebook group, create a dialogue with them, and ask them for their feedback. Give them some perks and bells and whistles for being one of the first people to your community, and turn them into advocates for your brand. That small investment will go a long way, and also their feedback is invaluable because it's giving you an idea of the pulse of what the industry is asking for. So thank you so much, Pat, for helping us put together this presentation. I think it's highly valuable. I want to see if anyone else has any questions here. I see Gail has had her hand up for a while. I'm trying to unmute you, Gail. How are you, Gail?
I'm good. How are you?
Very good. Where are you calling in from today?
St. Pete, Florida.
Okay, great. And was this your first webinar with us? Did you like it at all?
No, it's not the first one, but it's the first one in a long time. I had some other things that came up, but I'm getting back into this now, and I've actually, I'm trying to work with the Veterans Administration to get some disabled vets to actually work on selling the memberships for me.
Okay.
But on the next seminar, I'm probably have more questions because it's going to be more back office as far as like how I can have these people that are doing the sales for me. I know I can get a code so that they can get paid, but I wanted to know if there's also any type of if this will integrate with like a payroll type thing, or if there's some kind of a way I can print out who sold how much per 2-week period, or I guess with the sale, if they have their own number, that should be easy enough to do, but I don't know how to do it.
There might be ways through the payment gateway you collect. You can probably export some of the invoices or transactions, and it'll have the name of the product. So maybe every salesperson has their ID in each membership level that they sell, and that might be an easy way to identify where the membership, the paid membership initiated from, which sales agent. So you could use IDs, and I think this might work, and then export reports from your payment gateway. Yeah, Pat.
Yeah, I
think and another option is to create a coupon code for each sales rep, and then that way the sales rep has confidence they're not going to sign up on their own, because the sales rep has a coupon code that gives them 20% off. So what you do is increase your price by 20%, and you give every sales rep 20% off. They all have their individual coupon code, and it goes based on coupon code usage, which is another way people do it on Brilliant Directories.
Okay, I'll do that, and I'm going to call in next week because I want you guys to look over my site too, now that I have these salespeople, and make sure that everything is running efficiently, and if there's anything else I need to change. So
awesome. Looking forward to it, Gail. Thanks so much.
All right. Well, thank you.
Actually, this month is special. We usually just do 2 webinars a month. There was a scheduling conflict, but we're just going to override it. We're doing a webinar today. We're doing a webinar next Wednesday, and we will be doing a webinar the following Wednesday. So we're going to have 3 Wednesdays in a row that we're having webinars. Normally they're 2 weeks apart. So for those of you who are used to the 2-week schedule, we will be having a webinar next week. High five, awesome. Let's see here. I think we're how much time do we have here, Pat? I think we're almost pushing 2 hours here.
That's about our time. Yeah, we're at our. I agree. That was maybe my favorite tip of the week thus far, and I'm really happy we took our time with it. And there's just so many people stuck in that hamster wheel, and if we can help just a couple of people get out and shuffle and go into a different step of the cycle, then this will all have been worth it.
I agree. So thank you, Pat, for that presentation. Thank you, Rick, for Rick's Corner and helping us do math with the pricing page and the membership levels. I think it was a lot clearer with that information. And then if you haven't already done so, please join our Facebook group, brilliantdirectories.com/Facebook. If we didn't get your question here today, we can definitely start the conversation in the Facebook group. I'll be in there to help field some questions. And the next webinar will be next Wednesday on the 17th, and we look forward to catching you all there. So on behalf of myself, Rick, and Patrick, thank you guys so much, and we'll catch you in the next webinar.
Have a brilliant day, everyone.
Thanks, guys.